In the ocean, there is an island where a lonely wizard lives. No one knows why he lives there, but this is where he chose to live. You see, the king's golden trophy was recently stolen by the Goblin King, and the Goblin King has decided to keep it for his castle. The king was asking door to door if any heroes would be willing to help him get the golden trophy. Luckily, there was one hero who was willing to help. The lone wizard. Once he heard the news about the trophy, he set off in a blast. Eventually, he arrived at the Goblin King's castle, and he was ready to set in. He was going to go in when he realized he was an archer. He was used to big open spaces, but this was a castle. This was closed, confined spaces, and it felt like a trap. Then he realized why he was here, to return the king's golden trophy. So, without any more thinking, he ran to the entrance of the first act. The entrance was blocked off by a big piece of concrete. So, without further ado, he began breaking the concrete to get in. Once he was in the armory room, he grabbed a bow, and he went into the first act. Once he was in, he ran, when suddenly goblins came to stop him from getting the golden trophy. But their swords were no match for his archery skills. So he continued on, when suddenly, all of a sudden, more goblins were there, 4 of them to be exact, and they were all coming straight at him. The goblins were there for one reason, to stop him from getting the golden trophy. But the goblins were weak. Their swords weren't very effective, and they never even touched the lone wizard as he shot them one by one. As he was walking down, more goblins came in. He shot one, but it didn't die, so he smashed a pot over its head. And then he shot one that was trying to sneak up behind him. 4 more goblins came in to come and attack him, but they were no match for him. His bow had way too much long range, and yet he was victorious. And now, on to the next room. In the next room, he thought he had the last laugh, when suddenly imps flew down from the ceiling trying to stop him. He shot one, and then he slammed a pot over the other one and killed it. He continued on when suddenly 4 imps appeared. First, he got the one that was behind him. He ran, ducking and weaving and dodging the fireballs that were going straight at his head. So, he killed all 3 of the imps without hesitation. As he walked up after killing the last imp, 2 more had appeared, and they were both shooting, but he killed them very quickly. He walked into a big room, hoping that it was big enough for his archer skills to pay off. So he ran in when imps and goblins arose, and they were all going straight at him, so he ran back down the slope. As he looked through the doorway, he saw goblins and fireballs. 3 goblins came to bum rush him, but he got them before they could even reach him. Suddenly, the 2 imps were there, and they were shooting their fireballs when he knocked both of them out of the air and killed them. Then, even more goblins and imps came to stop him, so he ran back down the slope. The goblins began to rush over to him to kill him, but his bow killed them instantly. He saw an imp and was going to get it when suddenly 3 more imps appeared and were going to get him, but they were no match for his bow. He ducked behind the wall, narrowly missing a fireball. He saw the last imp and he killed it. Then, even more goblins and imps appeared. 2 were trying to do sneak attacks behind him, but he shot them down and they were no match. While he was fighting the 2 imps, the goblins came to try to stop him while he was distracted by the imps, but he killed the imp and killed the goblins quickly. He ran back in the room as quick as he could while there was 2 imps still shooting at him. He killed the last imp, and he was victorious. He was very happy that he had beat the imps and goblins, and he was ready for the next room. In the next room, goblins appeared at the bottom of the slope, and he pushed down a giant boulder, which killed them all. Once the boulder had killed all of the goblins, he had set off down the slope. He saw 2 pots and saw the chance, and he took the money from inside them. As he was going down, he got distracted by his sword and shield, and he heard goblins and imps from below him. 3 goblins were charging him, but he shot them all while imps were shooting fireballs at him. Once he had killed the goblins, he made a rush for it and he killed the imps. He broke 2 pots when suddenly he realized there were 3 imps that were behind him, so he went up and he shot them. If he was going to die right here, he was not going to give up without a fight. But by his advanced bow skills, he was able to kill the imps and go back down the slope. He ran back down the slope, shooting pots as he walked. He turned the corner when suddenly 4 more imps dropped from the ceiling and were trying to attack him. He was doing as much as he could to stop them, and he managed to stop them while narrowly avoiding a fireball. He walked down the slope thinking it was all over when suddenly a horde of goblins came to charge him. But he was too far back for them to reach him, so with his bow he shot all of them, and he managed to come out victorious. and just before he left, he got more pots. Then he charged to the next room. Upon entering the next room, he realized that the floor was made of hot lava. But since he was an archer, he wasn't used to not being able to go to the floor. So, in this room, he had to be extra careful not to jump off. Having that in mind, he ran down the slope. He looked to his right and he saw goblins coming to stop him, so he shot them all. They were in a line, so it was very easy for him to make every shot count. Then even more came and he shot those really quickly. He slammed a pot over one's head. He looked behind him and saw even more goblins, so he quickly made do with that and he shot all of them dead. Then suddenly, imps flew over the lava, shooting their fireballs. This was an advantage they had because now he couldn't get up close to shoot them. While shooting at the imps, goblins charged at him, but he killed them while dodging the imps' fireballs. Suddenly, more goblins appeared and almost hit him, but he shot them very, very quickly. He ran out of the room that he was in, shooting at the imps that were getting closer to him. One was hiding underneath the bridge, so he had to wait for it to come out, and then he shot it. Then, more goblins were there, charging from every direction. He ran towards one, picking up a pot and slamming it over its head and shooting it to kill it. He was getting shot at by more imps while more goblins were charging at him. He killed the goblins very easily, and now he just had to worry about the imps. He shot all three of the imps, and they all fell into the lava. Then, suddenly, the Barrel Knights came in. The only point that you can attack a Barrel Knight from is the point on its back, which means they never run away from a fight. The wizard grabbed two swords and began attacking its back. After he killed the first one, he had to go attack the second one, which narrowly missed him. After killing the Barrel Knight, one spawned behind him, and he killed it while almost falling in the lava. He didn't need the sword, so he threw him at the goblins and pulled out his bow and began shooting at them. They were charging at him, but he quickly took them out. He might have took out all the goblins, but the imps were still shooting at him. He quickly ran over to the imps and he shot all three of them, and they all died in the lava, and he came out victorious. He began running to the door, knowing well that if he died, he had done this all for nothing. But he was making good efforts, so he was confident in himself. In the next room, it began with a split, but the wizard chose to go right. The wizard began walking down the slope, hoping nothing went wrong. After turning the corner, he saw two goblins and he shot them very quickly. 3 imps dropped from the ceiling, but something was off about the third one. He was red and he was shooting more fireballs than usual. He killed the berserk imp, but a goblin came and he got cornered and, well, he was killed. The Goblin King took the lone wizard's body and put it at the front of his castle, showing it as a warning sign. He might have died, but he never got the king's golden trophy, so they needed more heroes.